I recently saw a very interesting minor from the Rebbe to a chassid in Manchester, Rebbe Zalman Jaffe, and it's very near to us. It was Chodesh Sivan Tashman Ches. This is many, many months after the great student the Rebbe had started off the year. Old Tishrei, Tashman Ches was an incredible Kach in Hakhel. And as the months went on, the Rebbe was Makash to the Parshas, V'chulu. But you could say a drop after Chabi Shvat, it kind of calmed down. The Rebbe was smoke Sichas of Vayechi and Leibel. But obviously, the Rebbe spoke that the whole year is a Hakhel year. So just very interesting to see that the Rebbe in Tammuz writes to him what's going on with Hakhel. As he and his wife made their own Hakhel gatherings besides what's going on, this was a minor that the Rebbe gave to Rebbe Zalman Jaffe. So, Klavi Medvar Mamurim, that those who didn't have the chance to partake in a very tangible, physical way of signing up that the Rebbe wanted to Hakhel. So we know the Rebbe was very, very involved in the size of the cards and the pratim that would be on the cards. And the main thing is not just to sign up to the cards if you haven't yet, but to continue, and those who didn't yet start, to be Isaac at least once a month, gathering chaverim to Mesav Yiras Hashem. So there's cards in the back table and places to put them in and pens next to the door over there. So if you haven't done that yet, the Rebbe is in Chodesh Tammuz still reminding Zalman Jaffe to involve in Hakhel, only Chodesh Tevis. So that's just a practical note. We have the great schus and kavod that we have Mazkir of the Rebbe, Rabbi Leibel Groner, here with us, and we'll ask him to share with us a few words.
The Hemshich, which was told about that the Rebbe is a einikel from the Motzoei Shabbos, the week after the Rebbe's Chasana, when he came to Motzoei Shabbos, he wanted to took off his Zayden and Beged. Like the Rabbi Motzoei Shabbos didn't wear the Zayden and Beged. So the Rebbe Rashab told him, you do not struggle, you have to continue wearing the Beged Motzoei Shabbos of us, being that you are einikel from the Chernobyl, and by the Chernobyl the meaning is that till Sunday morning they wear the Zayden and Beged. The father Rebbe Rashab told him, so Sa'al Motzoei Shabbos nicht oispen den Beged, not to take it off and wear it till Sunday morning. So that was the Hemshich to the senior. Beretzach as Motzoei Shabbos of the Tzell HaMaisa. The Rebbe Rayatz once said that a Maisa from a Rebbe you could hear even 100 times. And being that the Baal Shem Tov said that from everything that we see or hear, there must be a hero, why you heard it at that time, why you saw it at that time. So therefore you have to take a lesson from it in that present man for your avoided. So it says the Rebbe Rayatz, because you hear a Meister from a Rebbe, even if you heard it once before, maybe more times, then make a difference. And as we just read in Hayom Yom, that the meaning by the Tzemach Tzedek was that one night in Hanukkah, he made a latkes for the whole family, and he told the stories, and they said he used to tell the same story that he said last year, 5 years, whatever good. But Nachman giving the Chavdot Nachman, that he said the same story. So I'm going to tell you a story, and if you heard it once before, it's assuming that there's something that you have to learn from it. This story was told by an individual by the name of Yaakov. He is a professor of chemistry in Harvard University, and he's a former Yid. He introduced a new idea in chemistry, which as a result of that, he became very famous. One day he received an invitation from the University of Moscow that they would want him to come to Moscow and speak about his intervention, his what do you want to call it, his thesis that he made in chemistry. At that time, America and Russia were not on the best terms, so he discussed it with the administration of Harvard University, and after a few days they came back and told him, you could accept the invitation, but we're going to send with you another professor that you should not be alone. And then they told him that only you and your wife should know about it, and nobody else should know that you are going to Moscow. A day before he had to leave, he gets a phone call. He picks up the receiver, he says, and the one who's calling says, I am calling from the Leibel Rebbe's office, and the Leibel Rebbe would like to see you as soon as possible. He says, I haven't had any connection to Lubavitch. I never knew about I heard about Lubavitch Rebbe, but I had no connection with him. And he tells this gentleman that I'm very busy now, and I don't have the time. So the secretary that spoke to him, tell him, listen, when the Rebbe calls, you should know it must be very important. And he said he has to see you soon. We would advise you not to push it off. No, he says, okay, so when should I come? So he said, I was told to come tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. He came the next morning, 11 o'clock. He was brought into the Rebbe. He said the Rebbe received him very, very warmly. And then the Rebbe tells him, Azeli, I hear that you're going to Russia, to Moscow. And he said, Yema Shokel, he says, nobody knew that I'm going to Moscow. How did the Rebbe know? And the Rebbe says, I want to ask you a favor. What is the favor? I want to send with you Tashmishi Kedusha. You should take a box with Tefillin, Talesim Ketanim, Talesim Gedolim, with Sidurim, with other good Sachen. So the gentleman says, tells us, that I asked the Lubavitch Rebbe, you want that they should put me in jail? They'll see that I'm bringing religious things. And the Rebbe said, you have nothing to worry. It's not going to hurt you in any way. And then the Rebbe tells him, for this, that you're going to do this favor, I will do you a favor. He never saw the Rebbe never saw him. What kind of favor could the Rebbe do? So he told the Rebbe, no, I'm a servant of God, about that you're asking it, I'll do it. Shame. The next morning, then a few hours later, he received the box, and he said the person that brought the box told him that the Rebbe asked me to tell you again that for this, that you're going to do this favor, I will do you a favor. That's right. Shane, he says, we traveled to Moscow, came to the airport, we had to go through customs, and the bochurim is good. He saw that the people in the customs are taking every single box, they're opening it up, and they're turning in and out, it's everything that's there. He said, we're going to find what I have over there, who knows what they're going to do to me. Just before it came his turn to check what he brought, they changed the people, the inspectors. So the new inspectors that came thought that he already was inspected, so they told him, go through. And then he took the paper. He said the first box that he had 4 boxes. The first box that he had, they opened up, and they turned it in and out, and they pushed it through. When he came to the second box, he says, which had the Tashmishi Kedusha, he saw they opened up the cover, they gave a look, they closed it, and pushed it back. They didn't even look through. So he said he saw right away, as a Sishkin Pasha to Maisa was the Lubavitch Rebbe sent me. Shame. He got through, he started giving lectures. A week and a half later, he's together with his friend in the hotel sleeping. He hears knocking on the door. He said they opened up the door, standing 3 soldiers with guns, with rifles. You are under arrest. Under arrest? What do you mean? We came here to give the lectures in the school. We're Americans. You are spies, and we're taking you to jail. And you should know that spies have a certain punishment. So we told them, if you can do that to us, the whole world will scream against you. No, we don't kill you. We put you in a car, and you travel, and you had a serious accident. It was your fault, not our fault. That's what they told him, and that's what he repeated. They took him, and they put him into a cell for 2 days, and all they did, twice a day, they gave him food. He didn't want to eat it, it was not kosher, but he couldn't speak to anybody. On the 3rd day, 3 soldiers come in, they blindfold him, the two of him, and they take him out. And you put him in a car. That this is what they said, that this is the way that they punish him, but we should only him sagen wieder, he says. We thought that this is the end. We're traveling, we stop, they take us out of the car, they unfold us, and they say, you're at the airport, we're putting you on a plane, and we're sending you back to New York. Okay, now I understand what the Rebbe told me. That I came back to New York, and we wanted to find out what happened over here. He called the State Department, and the State Department told him that on the second day, we received an anonymous call that you should know that 2 American citizens are in jail in Moscow for no reason, and you have to do something to get them out. The State Department called him back and said that we called the American ambassador in Moscow, and he says, I know nothing about it. So we instructed him that he has to make an investigation. A short while later, he calls back, the ambassador says, yes, they told me that these 2 people are spies, and we have to do so and so. So the State Department started working through all their connections, and so they're not spies, they're professors, and finally, they were taken out. Who made that anonymous call? They told him, somebody from 770 Eastern Parkway from the Rebbe's office. They said, yes, verstehe what the Rebbe did for me. Had I not taken the boxes from the Rebbe, and the Rebbe wouldn't have done me the favor, and they would have done so and so to me. Yes, verstehe, I understand what the Rebbe said, that for the favor that you are doing, I'm going to do you a favor, which means to say that that saved their lives, van het gevolgde Rebbe. There's a Yigeres Kodesh from the Rebbe, that the Rebbe wrote in Tov Reis Tzadik Beis to the Frierdiker Rebbe. And in that letter, the Rebbe writes to Yishver, Teger al Yigeres gebaut in the Kvedushim Red Bechon Ma'admushlider, obviously from Yishver. But I give you a special thanks that in that letter you wrote to me a Miraculous from the Mountain Rebbe. And the Rebbe writes, the Lamrois, although in the previous generations Chabad were not interested in listening to Motzoei, the whole Nika was to listen and learn see this. Says the Rebbe, that was good in the previous generations. That's what he writes to his Shver, the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Deireinu Zeh, sagt der Rebbe, me'oid nochutz, lefarshing, yeser v'yeser, in yonim moshe me'arabeyim, vomo, says the Rebbe, Eshori, sheyi ye Yehudi shem b'teiru mitzvahs, aber hu kolkach mushka, b'gashmis, u'b'chumri yisraelim, sheyochel v'shkeach, שיש בויר אורגן ומנהיגות. ובזה שהוא שומע עניין מייפס, עניין ניסי, הוא מתעורר von dem ganzen Ingen von der Gashmiris, und hat כך, כשהוא ניגש עוד הפעם בגשמיס העולם, הוא זכר שיש בויר אורגן ומנהיגות. Und dann der Rebbe weiß, וזה הבקושה, שדבר קדוש מעל שליטה, יפרסם משהו הוא יותר ויותר עניין של מוצאים. העניין von המייפס, people make a very big mistake. They make them with them that the Rebbe aggressor Rebbe. Can uspon das a shekel v'gomel. That's the reason that we have away from the Rebbe. The Rebbe verbracht 8 shel Pesach Tovshin Yud, after the Minchus or the Ksilim from the Bethlehem Rebbe, that he should farbrengen. So he sat down in the kleine Saal upstairs and verbracht. But they gesagt, that the Sheriff them gesagt, aber dann mal gefragt bei Rashbatz, so der Rebbe in Shmosei und hat Ruach HaKodesh. Because we have Ruach HaKodesh or not. But Rashbatz answered, Oy bei Rebbe darf kommen Ruach HaKodesh, he has Ruach HaKodesh. Oy bei Rebbe darf nicht schon kein Ruach HaKodesh, darf nicht kein Ruach HaKodesh. Is the Rebbe. What is the Rashbatz saying? That these only Yonim doesn't make the Rebbe greater. That Shmuel Witten, that uns einmal erzählt, in der Rettung in Chernobyl, as in the Babis, they said that in Chernobyl, they went on Meise, the Motzoei Shabbos who once spoke about the greatness of tzaddikim restoring. When it machtlich that the meaning was before doing, yes, one was tzaddikim restoring, before. After that, is one of the elder Chassidim went over to the Motzoei Shabbos, and he tells him, we are sure that among the Chassidim over here, there must be at least one or two tzaddikim restoring. Although he wants to be a tzaddik nistar, but the lashon of him, this was on the table. What does he have? So the Motzoei Shabbos answered him, "Du guckst nach the tzaddik nistar. You're looking at a tzaddik nistar." So the Chossid said, "The Rebbe, you're not a tzaddik nistar. You're meforsim in every way." So the Shmuel said, "I'll tell you in the Chazar to Maisi in Lubavitch. Was hat der Motzoei Shabbos geämpft? Der Motzoei Shabbos hat geämpft. Was für ein Rachmanis wollte ich eigentlich gewesen, aber wir sind mehr nicht das, was Sie said von uns. What pity would be on you that we are only this what you see of us." What does that mean? Something small, mir hat man ungeteilt, älter auf Siegen, in Lubavitch. A Rebbe war ein Hechering in den Ganzen. Alles, was man sagt von dem Rebbe, der Lomnis, mit den Zirkis, mit den Boxen, mit allem, mein Wort, mit all den Sichers, nicht das ist der Rebbe. Der Rebbe ist ein Engel, Meilen mit Kohle in Jonen. And of them, Kopnish Kain Haslaga, we don't even know what that means. So Meil Bishlas mitzelt am Meifes nicht bloß in der Rebbe. Der Karbone von der Meifes ist, wie der Rebbe sagt, in dem Eges Kedish, der Jesel gedenken, dass da bei wo man hiegen. Der Vater stellt man am Meifes von der Rabbi. Wenn wir was in der Kunde was in Hunger rausbringen, aber dann wissen sein, aber Schas mein Herz noch einmal am Ingen, dass jeder eine Fragen bei sich, was hat der Sieper mir geholfen? What did it help me that I should improve my situation in being, wie sie da zu sein, und wenn ich gehe zu den Stausches zum Rebbe. Eine von den Sachen, was der Rebbe hat machadisch gesagt, noch all Bochus, for das Hakotten, we are accustomed that we speak about the Neshamas have aliyahs, is b'yom ha'histalkus, b'yom ha'ilulu, the Yortzeit of the Neshama, he has aliyahs. If you take out the Kuntres Beis Nis and Tovshin Yud, so there's a Hagdoma from the Rebbe, and the Rebbe writes that Beis Nis and Tovshin Yud are geworden 30 years since the Histalkus from the Rebbe Rashav, and the Rebbe writes as geworden 30 Jahre since the Rebbe geworden a Rebbe, and the Rebbe writes in that Hagdoma that the Rebbe hat oile gewähnt 30 Mailos, wo whole shona wo all the dog Getzel learn. What did the Rebbe telling us? That the Shansi kommt ein Tag von den Messias, von dem Rebbe, es kommt an seinem Rebbe, Yom HaHistalkus, heißt es, und schon mit jetzt auf der härtere Tage, ist in jener Tag von den Messias, der Rebbe's Eile, in der härtere Tage, ist ich bin bei Engelruf, bis wir werden bis jetzt. You take out the Sicher, tape is Tovshin Yud Aleph, dass you gewesen nach heute Shvai Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph. So the Rebbe writes over there, was da sein der Hachone to Yud Shvat. And the Rebbe gives a moshel. The Rebbe says, when you have a locomotive, and you want it, that the locomotive should pull after it all the cars, you have to attach the cars to the locomotive with such a chain that when the locomotive starts to move, it shouldn't break the chain in order to bring able to schlep the cars afterwards. What happens up the Rebbe? If the locomotive has a very heavy load, so you have to make sure that according to that load, the chain should be strong enough to be able to schlep. So if the Rebbe be bound has to come in Yud Shvat, that the Rebbe, the Beretten Kirchen Rebbe, it will be Eulus Hazam in Dargit, now the Rebbe is up to Geras HaKadosh, the mile is without sign, the Hepster Darg was again sign. So we have to be prepared, and the Rebbe wants to take us with him, for Salvation for Ozul. So we have to prepare ourselves that we should be connected to the Rebbe according to that new level. And the Rebbe writes on the Loy Maspik, Adargas Haiskashus, Shahoya Ad Akshov, the level of discussion that you had till now is not enough to be assured that the Rebbe will be able to pull you along. The Yabal the Rebbe is now able to Hakhel and Darge, so you have to prepare that the kashas will be strong enough, and the Rebbe will kind of mitnehmen. The Yabal has Shleshim Yoim Lefnei HaChag, Dershim, Behilchus HaChag, Rabbi Malil Doshamayim, being that we are already past 30, in the middle of the 30 days to Yud Shvat, when Yud Shvat will sein the Yoim Ha'aliyah from the Rebbe in the Indian from sein Messias. So what does that mean, in other words? That this is the Chodesh Elul that we have now till Yud Shvat to prepare ourselves Abishas et Kum in Yud Shvat. And the Rebbe is going to be in a much higher target than it was till now. And the Rebbe wants the Shleppers take us with him. So we have to prepare ourselves that we are so connected to the Rebbe according to this new level which the Rebbe is. The Father of the Rebbe in Yad Nasicha, that what do we have to do? His kashrus is by learning the Rebbe's Torah and by following the Rebbe's heroes. That means to say that during this period, Yad Erenet of Machna Cheshbon HaNefesh, where is he up to in learning the Rebbe's Torah? Sai beKamus and Sai beEchus, and where is he up to in following the Rebbe's heroes? Sai in Yonah, clothing what the Rebbe gave in general, and also what the Rebbe gave individuals. Complaints from them that this is as man now, and that's the great, and we have to prepare ourselves for Yud Shvat, from Tovshin Ayin Vov, because the Rebbe said that his kashrus that was from Tovshin Ayin Hey till now is not sufficient, is not suffice, that's going to assure us that we will be able to be pulled along from the Rebbe, that therefore we have to utilize this period as was also zugerechnet to prepare ourselves for the proper way. Abishas et Kum in Yud Shvat, Tovshin Ayin Vov, und der Rebbe ist öffentlich, sein Hakhel das sagt Tage, mit auf der Rebbe sagt doch, und bei einer Leute, wie sie gewesen bis jetzt, mit mehr da was so zugerechnet, äußerlich in der Zeit jetzt, auf öffentlich sein kann, die Rebbe uns können mitnehmen. And just to finish off with another short story. In this story we heard from the individual. He's a shaliach on the French-based Chabad in Eretz Yisrael. And he said that every Friday he used to go to different offices, to different places, to put on film with people who didn't put on film. One Friday he came to an office building, and he sees on one of the doors it says, Refi Shanayim, a dentist. So he knocks on the door, and when he opens the door, Getzel Ha'yid, with Kabod, he says, with Payas, with the tzitzis and the Reisen, he says, you're the dentist? Yeah? What can I do for you? He said, I'm sorry. Well, I'm looking for people who don't put on film. Oh, you are Chabadnik? I said, yeah, please, come into my office. I have to tell you something. The young man says, his name is Rabbi Moshe, the shaliach, he sits down, and the Yid tells him as follows. I was born in France to a family, a Jewish family, but they had nothing to do with Yiddishkeit. My grandfather didn't go Yom Kippur to Shul, my father didn't go, we had no shaykhus to Yiddishkeit at all. I wanted to know something about Yiddishkeit, and first I went to different culture, and I got some messing up all those problems. He says, one time I decided that I wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. I came to Eretz Yisrael, I went to Tzfas, and while I was in Tzfas, somehow I became connected to the Blessed Chassidim. One day I'm walking in the street of Tzfas, I see papers on the floor. I pick up some of the papers, I see it's a French advertisement from a Lubavitcher Moised in Tzfas, that they're inviting all French people to come to a farbrengen, when they gave to use Aleph Nissen, and to speak about when the Rebbe was in France, what the connection the Rebbe had to France and so forth. He picks up the paper and he turns it over, and he sees over there an address. He tells him that before I came to Eretz Yisrael, I was going out with a non-Jewish woman, and we decided that even before the wedding we wanted to be together, so we rented an apartment. He said we took the apartment, and the first minute that we came into the apartment, I felt that this is not a place for me. You know, I'll get over it. And he says, as the minutes went on, that feeling that this is not my place became much stronger, and I picked myself up and I ran out. And I started running in the streets in France, in Tzfaz. Finally, I came across a shul, a Slavish shul. I come into the shul, and I asked them to give me a siddur, and I davened mincha with them, which I hadn't done, who knows when. And after davening, I decided to go back. When I came back to the apartment, I told this young woman that she must leave. I'm not going to have any connection with you anymore, and you have to leave. And he wanted to be there. He says, after a day or two, was a gefühlt, as I can manage Leindorf. When he found this paper, he went to Nahariya, and he showed this paper to Rabbi Abu Chatzir, who was an Enoch from the Babi Sali. And he said, what is this telling me? He said, what does it say over there? The address that you found on the other side, that is the address that when the Rebbe was in Paris, he lived in this house and in this apartment. Sagt them Rabbi Abu Chatzir, what is the Rosh Hashanah of Rebbe? Reish Beis Yud, Rosh B'nai Yisrael. When we say the head means to say that controls the entire body, and the head gives chayis to the whole body. A Rebbe is the head of Gans Klal Yisrael, and not only is he the head, but he controls, and he gives chayis to Yedi Yid. The Rebbe lived in that apartment, and the Rebbe saw that in a certain time, that when somebody want to come over here and conduct something which is contrary to Torah, so the Rebbe made sure that the kedusha of that apartment should still remain till that time. He said the reason why you felt that you can't be there, that was as a result of the kedusha of the Rebbe, but the Rebbe made sure that you should always be there and no one should be able to do something which is negative to Torah. He said, oh, Rebbe Zay, but the only him will see this. He tells this Rav Moshe, he said, when the one of the Baba Chochosid. Was that me do? Kunst again a Yid na Enoch von Baba Sali, oder Baba Mazkir, und als Masbel Sayyid, soll's wissen sein, was meint der Rebbe? Das ist der Reusch. Feels out on, and he sees what's going to happen, who knows how long later. Said, alles was mit sein, als sein Kommandeures. Und der Rebbe made sure that in this place where he brought Kedusha, so man schon gern Rebbe dicke sagt. Meile, das darf mehr bechazig sein, und jetzt ist die Zeit, als bechazig sein, in his Kashus zum Rebbe, in a Eufen, was I don't know how to explain that, and some of them threatened the Mazkir und the Mashpim, wie bald als Motzoei schon Robot gesagt, als a Rebbe ist gar eine andere Linie im Ganzen, es ist nicht Gewondes, es ist nicht der Teiro, es ist nicht das, so why do we have to be Mekusher? Are we Mekusher to the Teiro to the Rebbe? Are we Mekusher to the Machshava Dibur Meister to the Rebbe, to the Chokmah, to the Meichon to the Rebbe, to the Motzoei Shabbos? All this is not the Rebbe. We have to find out which as we talk Mekusher zum Rebbe, we have to get Mekusher to the Esmius, as much as one could explain, was meant the Atmos from Rebbe, and how we could reach that. That is the emissary culture. So es geht nicht rein in die anderen Sachen, wo das niedergerieren von Atmos. Das was nur der Schmutz. Aber Punkt und Rebbe zu helfen, als Rebbe, dass wir schon als Hakhel und der Inge von Hakhel will uns zukommen, mehr in Jerusalem, wir soll zukommen in Jonim, als wir soll folgen, was der Rebbe sagt. And just to finish off with a word like Sipurim from Tzadikim, one time the head of all the Mizrahi institutions in Eretz Yisrael came to see the Rebbe. When he came out of the Rebbe, he said, I want to tell you a word that I heard from the Rebbe. I asked the Rebbe, what can we do in Eretz Yisrael, in our institutions, the Mizrahi institutions, to imbue with the bochurim, to the Talmid and Talmidis, more Yerushalayim. We want there should be Yerushalayim. And the Rebbe tells me, make sure that at least 3 times a week, the Talmidim and Talmidas hear a Sipur from a Tzaddik. Und b'shas meher a Sipur from a Tzaddik, tells me the Rebbe, that brings Yerushalayim to the one who heard it. Remember, this is not an explanation why we tell Sipurim from the Rabbeim, and this is Meisef for the million von Shemayim. Und der Kunde ist, der Ebsche soll helfen, und man soll senden, Rebbe, der Mathe soll das worten, und wo you go away, wie ihr Leuten, kann mir soll es sein und Tag von mir als Mama.
I'm Gracie Ashikach, Rabbi Groner, the Divi Seirus, and Hakhel, in the coming days, it should be Nika by the bochurim of the Leibel Yeshiva, that in Shvat there should be different Aver,